All right. Welcome to another edition of Shabbat Lounge. This is Matt,
And Jake here.
and we're coming to you. This is week 38 in the Torah portions. What is this one, Jake?
This is, it kind of speaks for itself. The name is Korah. So obviously you know what that is. So it's Korah, of course. If you get a little throaty in your Hebrew, then it will sound kind of like that.
Just rolls right off the tongue. So, yep.
Yes.
Yep, Korah. Numbers 16 through 18.
Right.
And so we ask that we really appreciate those of you that have given us some shofars and ram's horns.
Right. In the comments section. So keep that up. We recognize you.
Yep. We really appreciate you doing that. Well, Jake, anything else?
Yes, like and subscribe, and whatever the situation is in which you're listening to this, go ahead and give us only the best of reviews so that we can reach more and more people.
That's right. Well, we're glad you're here, and we'll just jump right into Korah. So we got to do a little background, Jake. So, Jake, in chapter 11, the people wanted meat.
And who can blame them? We all want meat.
Yes.
But yeah, and then Yahweh with he does have a bit of a humorous character, and he says, "Oh, he wants some meat, do you?"
Yeah.
And so he gives them the meat.
He does. Yep.
And then they're drowning in meat.
Yep.
If you could drown in meat, that's what they're doing.
Seems like a terrible thing. And then in chapter 12, we have an attempted coup. We've got definitely something going on with his own sister and brother, and they're giving him some grief.
That of
questioning Moses.
Sister.
Yep. And then in chapter 13, there's a test, and they don't pass. They don't do so well.
Which is par for the course.
Yes, and that was the spies.
Yep.
So definitely that there has been some things that have transpired that, it's not like this just came out of nowhere.
Right.
So definitely y'all saw this coming a mile away, and Moses probably saw this coming. I don't think Moses was surprised either.
Yeah, he gets kind of. I mean, there's so many similarities to Yeshua, but that's one of them. Is the how long am I going to be stuck with you people?
Yes. Well, so in 16:2, you see the scripture, men of renown. So what do you think about that phrase?
So obviously that makes me think back to the Nephilumps, and how they were kind of labeled as men of renown, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I think
So
David's mighty men were men of renown.
Similar phrasing. So you definitely get the impression that these guys were somebody, or they thought they were someone,
right?
And had a reputation, and so I don't know if it was that they had a title, they had the big head, but I don't know. Jake, do you think they thought that they could do it better than Moses?
I think they had that impression about them, but so when I see them labeled as men of renown, I've also seen it as kind of the idea of people put in kind of a sort of leadership role in the community. And when we read it together, it was that was one of the things, was the people of the community seemed to have selected these people.
Yeah.
And so this as a leadership role, they didn't select them to replace Moses, but it was, obviously there were things to lead in the community.
Yeah.
And these people were selected.
Lots of jobs with, some argue 3 million people. Lots of jobs to be done.
Right.
For sure. On a daily basis. So they accuse Moses of failure. So do you think, Jake, sometimes people who are guilty sometimes. Well, let me back up a little bit. So I think that's the next thing. But um, it makes sense that some of these guys might have been connected to the people with the spies that caused problems before, because the spies come back and there's like a rumor mill
Right, and
that
that kind of
spreads.
spreads through the camp,
Hmm.
and you need ears with willing lips
Yep.
to spread to dump your bag of feathers and let the wind carry it
Mm.
through the
And I think it's
streets.
it's speculation. We don't know. It doesn't specifically say, but it does kind of make sense that these things happen in
Right
fairly
after
close
that, yeah.
proximity. That there could be some connections between the two. But anyway, so do you think it's often true today that sometimes people, um, sometimes that are guilty, sometimes are the loudest to squeal about maybe sins that they've committed?
About that same issue and put it on others.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, have you seen the news?
I know
I
it does
don't know if
seem
anyone's
like
seen the news, but yeah, there's a lot of hey, look over there at what that guy's doing. It's the thing I'm trying to hide from you seeing that I'm doing.
yes, hypocrisy, I guess.
Yeah.
So, what's this about, Jake?
So Moses kind of sees this coming. He's like, hey, this has happened several times before. And so he's yeah, forget this noise, don't put this on me.
Hmm.
And like he always is, he's appealing to Yah for which is, you know, one of the things that makes Moses such a great leader, uh, compared to even a lot of other leadership in the Bible. I mean, Moses is constantly going to Yahweh with the issues he's having.
Hmm.
And I guess you could say he had more issues than most of the other leaders in the Bible. But point being, uh, he went to Yahweh about him.
Yeah, yeah. And he did have compassion on his people. It would have been real easy for him to be like, shoot. He could have been like Jonah and been like, all right, where's my marshmallow? Or my whatever. I want to put it in the fire and roast it while they burn.
Right,
I mean, he could have just sat back and ate his popcorn and watched the show.
right.
But he wasn't like that, thankfully.
Yep,
So, but it is interesting. As soon as the showdown is announced, Moses is just like, I know what's coming,
right.
and this is not good. So a censer. What's a censer? It says bring a censer.
So that's the thing that it's usually you'll see it like on a chain in a little bowl, and it like makes the smoke, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I believe I'm explaining that
Yes.
correctly, describing that in a way
Yes.
people could understand.
So it's a pretty easy thing to look up. You'll find lots of images, but something that's amazing about it is how fast. There's not a big trial here, is there? There's not a long drawn out process.
No, it was hey, you want to be in charge? Bring all your stuff over here, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and these people are so clueless. It's just like, okay,
Yeah, he might pick us this time.
yeah, yeah,
Wait,
they
wait a minute.
they're not picking this up at all. You just see them like, yeah, yeah, it's about time he acknowledged me.
Yeah,
They have. No, I don't think they had any clue.
it doesn't come across like they
Yeah.
understand what's going on.
Hmm. So, Jake, do you think it's safe to say that Korah's followers, Korah included, are lost, blind, deaf, and dumb?
I think that's exactly true. I think it's very, very easy to see that being the case.
And I think you can also clearly make an argument they had no clue about the character of Yah. They didn't have any idea really
Right,
what he was about.
right. They did not.
They thought they did.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, you don't. Most of the time, the person on the wrong side of things doesn't realize they're the one on the wrong side of things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They think other people are wrong.
Yeah, I'm doing the right thing
Yeah.
here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a good guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not that bad. I'm not like everybody else.
Right.
And then it happens. So basically, you get this moment where he's like, "Step back, get out of the way, let me do my thing." And at that point, Moses knows that that's what you better do.
Yeah, I like how Moses calls the shot. He's like, "You're not gonna just die regular," you know. He's like, "There's gonna be it's like he's like making it up on the spot. He's like, let's see, the ground opens up and swallows you up. Maybe if that happens, then we'll see that you've been judged."
Yeah. Yeah. And so in 1621, he tells them to separate themselves from amongst the congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. So, and at that point, did Korah did they hear this, or is this just a conversation with Moses? I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of my question too, because it's like, separate yourselves from among the congregation, and then
And this would
just stand there and take it.
Yeah. Well, I kind of gathered that this was just maybe to Moses, and Moses is getting the word out, but at some point you would think they're starting to be like, why is everybody getting away from us?
Yeah, why are we like in the middle of this
do we smell bad
circle
today?
here with all of our belongings?
Yeah, it wouldn't take long, and they're like, what's going on?
Oh, Yah is about to reward us, I bet.
Yes. Oh, we're going to be in the middle here, and the ground's maybe going to raise us up, and they'll acknowledge our amazingness.
Right.
So, who knows? And then it's interesting that some are died by swallowing whole. Jake, have you ever thought about the swallowing whole? Do you think that that's like being buried alive?
I just picture a big hole opening up and you fall down in it.
It doesn't seem good. A good way to die.
No, neither way. Either way is terrible. Burying alive, that's got to be the worst.
Yeah,
one of the worst.
Yeah.
Well, the other worst is consuming fire.
Yeah, that seems like a bad way.
Yeah.
So. And it's interesting that you've got two, and I don't know what the difference is, but there was something different, and it's almost like the ones being consumed by fire. It's like they were an offering. I don't know. I don't understand that part. I don't know. If anyone out there knows, let us know.
There you go. Put it in the comments.
So it is interesting. And then 1638 through 40, what does he tell them to do with the censers?
So he's like, hey, you people are going to need a reminder, because I know how short a memory you really have. And don't we all? Yes. Don't we see that today? What short memories we have.
Well, very much so.
And so he makes this reminder, put it on the altar, and now every time you go up there and make your offerings, think about this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty good reminder. And so after this, the earth opened up. There's fire that consumed people falling from heaven, and they still seem to be looking around. There are still people, after watching all this, that are still going, "Hey, I think the wrong guy died. We still got Moses. I thought we were getting Korah." They're not picking up on this, and they're still
they missed the boat
saying
there.
some things that they shouldn't say. And so it's kind of like this is where following your heart gets you sometimes.
Yeah, and it ties back into the wait. We were on the right side of this thing, and
doing what's right in your own eyes.
Yeah,
and I think that's what you see a lot of here is people just justified everything. So, do you think there's still a big part? So it's not just Korah, but there's part of the congregation that's also blind and deaf to the truth.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of interesting. I think most of the times, because we've seen Yahweh do this a few times now, and he always leaves some people behind that aren't quite on board with what's going on. And I think that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And he does the same thing here.
Well, it's like he gives them a chance, and like,
Yeah.
okay, that's a warning. Now, what you gonna do? And there probably were some people that were like, "Oh, yeah, I'm good. Well, I'll do what you say. I get it. Okay, I was wrong, and I'm sure there were some people. You have to believe it doesn't say that there's all this repentance going on, but you would think that there were some people that repented of their actions and made teshuvah
Right.
after this, and then these people that died, they didn't make teshuvah and just they suffered the consequence.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the point of the judgments is to bring repentance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So in 1645, what does he say here?
Get you up from among the congregation that I may consume them as in a moment. And then he does all the consuming.
Seems like we just saw that.
Yep.
So it's just happened, and it's happening again. And an interesting verse there, 1648, and it talks about how he stood between the living and the dead. And this is Aaron, but in essence, it's Moses. And Moses sends Aaron to go do this task.
Yeah.
But it is, just like Yeshua, standing between the living and the dead.
Right. Yeah. So that previous slide on 1645, this is after Korah. They still didn't get it, and he still got this plague coming through so one of the things that I typically bring up, I mean, you see it in the Phineas thing, and you see it many places. You see it in the golden calf situation, and same thing here is sin. Once it's coming into the community, it's like a virus, and it spreads and spreads until someone stops it. And I think as a community, that's how we should be viewing sin, and not allowing it to creep into the body, because that it'll just fester and take over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. And the same approach that we see here, acting swiftly. It's not something you can just like ease into and be like,
Right,
get to that in a minute.
We see some people do,
mm-hmm.
and it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
That's why you have Phineas as a hero, because everyone else is standing around, and he's not on my watch.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, all these things we're seeing, you see this slipping, and there's this continued rebellion all the way. It actually probably never really stops. But yeah, you just continue to see this issue. And you see a lot of examples where justice gets enacted swiftly.
Yeah.
There's no long-term prison sentence. There's no confinement.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of that.
It's just dealt with.
Yep.
So rip open the scab, take the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just that idea of, this is a perfect example, this Torah portion too, is that it wasn't, and we've said before on different episodes about how it's not that they couldn't listen, it's they refused. Mm-hmm. It was rebellion was the problem.
And it's not that they couldn't keep Torah, they refused to keep Torah.
Right.
All right, so we got another throwdown.
Okay.
Now this time, bring your staff, which is kind of lost on us because do you carry your staff to work?
Everywhere you go? Mm-hmm. I am the staff man.
Yeah, so you walk in to work, and when you pay for things, you just show them your staff.
Yeah.
And get you everywhere you need to go.
How do I know it's really you? Got my staff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I go into work, I hang my staff up at my designated staff holder place.
I bet. That must be an interesting place you work. But so there's this whole staff thing, and the first thing that occurred to in my brain is, who would want this job at this point? It's it seems very difficult.
Yeah, the priesthood and the priestly duties do seem very difficult.
Yeah.
Um,
And dealing with the people, the
yep, dealing with the people.
rebellious people who don't want to do the things that they've been told.
Who wants to deal with the people?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we all know the customer isn't really always
Yeah,
right.
that's right. That's for sure. Well, in Yah's election process, here in the United States, we talk about we the people all the time. And was this we the people, Jake?
This was not we the people.
Not at all. And so, I always picture this, there's women and daughters and sons behind these tribal leaders going, "Yeah, Dad, I think yours might be it." I mean, I really, I think that that's possible, but I also, who knows? Who knows? Some of them also may have been very humble and been like, "What is fixing to happen?"
Yeah.
After seeing all these other things, you would definitely be approaching this cautiously.
That would be interesting to see how each person had. That might make it like a good short story of like
Yeah.
how each person kind of dealt with it in their own family or something like that. That would be cool. Get on it, Matt.
I'll get on it. And so this dead stick coming to life is us. And so it represents us in a lot of ways that we must die to ourselves. It's a wooden stick, once alive, now dead.
And
And
be
that's what they have.
raised again in the newness of life.
Yep.
I think so. What I think is, I always think of, I don't know, maybe I give Yah more of a sense of humor than he really has. I don't know. Maybe I just have a funny sense of humor, but by funny, I mean odd. I'm the humblest man you'll ever know, Matt.
Oh, wow.
But, oh, wait, that was Moses who wrote that. Yes. But no, I think this whole process is real funny to me because I just picture, so he's like, Aaron and Moses, you're in charge. And then they're like, well, are you sure that's how you want it to be? And he goes, okay, everyone put your name in a hat, bring the hat over to me, and I'll pick a leader. And then they bring the hat over to Yahweh, they shake it around, and they hold it out, and he doesn't even reach in. He just goes, yep, Aaron.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
you got us.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do think he does have a sense of humor. That's where we get ours, for sure. So, no coincidence. Well, Jake, tell us about the almond. What should people do?
What should people do? Search the almonds. And then also go and on our Sabbath Lounge page and in our historical documents and find where we talk about the almonds, because there's a lot of things that have to do with almonds. This situation where Aaron's staff buds and produces almonds in a very short amount of time. The almond tree is, it's first to wake up in the spring, burst forth like the first of the month of the year, shaped like an eye, means watchful. All these special things about almonds and how it carries through scripture. And you'll be able to find that if you go to that teaching on the almonds.
That's right. And, the priests were supposed to be the guardians of the Torah. And
I don't want to call it a teaching, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
That video thing.
So if you click on that and go there, you can watch this on YouTube. And if you just Google Sabbath Lounge almonds, you'll probably find it.
Yeah.
And so I believe it was a 2-part material. And we looked at some interesting stuff where we talked about the rod and the root of Jesse, and even saw some connections to David and Goliath, and back to Adam, and where Moses gets the staff, and tied all that together.
Yep.
So so anyway, you just have to check it out and see for yourself.
And you will see.
So back to the sticks. So what does 18:1 say?
And Yahweh said unto Aaron, thou and thy sons and thy father's house with you shall bear the iniquity of the sanctuary, and you and your sons with you shall bear the iniquity on your priesthood.
So when you read that about bearing the iniquity, does this sound pleasant?
It doesn't sound that pleasant.
It doesn't.
It's like, yay, we won. And then you hear, and you're like, oh, we won.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you excited to do the job. It doesn't seem like it would anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. So,
But yeah, it's it's an important job,
very
and
important.
it's a serious job,
Yeah.
and you couldn't be goofing about with it. You had to take it seriously,
Yep.
and only a man's man could do it.
Yeah. And we didn't really talk about it, but you know the so when they bring the sticks, there's one stick, and if you don't know the story, you need to go read it. The one stick that is chosen, uh, bears fruit and makes almonds, just instantly.
Yep.
And they're like, oh,
Yep.
and then they stick it in the box.
Exactly.
So it is a remembrance. And so it also after this, it clearly reinstates these guys. You're in charge of tabernacle. And what were you saying earlier about Korah? This might have been part one of his problems. What
Oh
they
yeah,
were
yeah.
arguing about.
Because yeah, this is kind of it's funny because we were talking about it and we're like, oh, why is it? He's talking about what they're in charge of here, and it's all these furnishings and stuff. When we know they have other duties as well, uh, and then if we remember back to the beginning of why Korah was even upset in the first place, it was he was not satisfied with the position he was given, and he was upset that he had to carry certain things, and why didn't he get to carry the most important things and do the most important work?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was all about whenever the Levites would gather up the tabernacle and all its furnishings and move on and set
Mm-hmm.
up and tear down.
Yeah. And all in all, in the end, he's reminding them, just like a good parent would their child, hey, I'm still in charge. And what I said a few minutes ago is still in place. No
Yep.
matter what you think or what you want to do, that this didn't change.
Yep.
So it's just reminds them. But you see a lot of servant leadership. And I kept thinking of the passage about that Yah desires obedience, not sacrifice. He really just wanted them to obey. He didn't even want them to have to make sacrifices and to have to make teshuvah. They just wanted them to obey the first time. So, what do you think about this idea of the community had some responsibility? It's not just all the priesthood, but there was other responsibilities in this group.
Well, there's a obviously people had a personal responsibility. I mean, you had to uh, because just the way the Torah is written, it's written to the regular people. Um, and now the priesthood would kind of make sure the trains ran on time and whatnot, but in terms of like a lot of this stuff, it's like, well, how would the priest even know? Oh, it's like the honor system,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and
Hmm.
if you weren't doing your thing, if you're out collecting sticks on the Sabbath, I mean, the priest didn't have to come arrest you. Yah just kind of took care of business.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this also goes to what we do sometimes is we lift up leaders to a higher position than we should. And Korah was just a guy, and Moses was just a guy. But the difference is Moses deeply cared and was moved to do the will of his father, and understood the nature and the character of his father. And Korah was moved to do what Korah wanted to do and what made him happy and what his heart wanted to do instead of maybe the right thing. And so I think there is a responsibility on everyone to do to do the to be obedience and to walk humbly and to live out these things, and not depend on some leader up high to tell you what you can and can't do. I don't think that's his model. His model is he wants everybody to be working on this and not just. It's definitely not what we saw later with the church model where you have the people up at the top and then everyone else down below.
Yeah.
I don't think that was how this was. And I think sometimes we read this with that kind of filter sometimes, and you know, his desire was for all of his people to be obedient.
Right.
And that's Korah. It's definitely a very memorable passage, one that is worth a lot of study, and one that we definitely don't want to be like Korah.
Right. So yeah, that's week 38, Korah, numbers 16 through 18.
Well, we appreciate you stopping by and listening to Sabbath Lounge. Please subscribe. Please like our channel. Please continue to give us the shofar, ram's horns, and we really appreciate the comments. And we encourage everybody to read their Bibles and keep learning more about His Word.
Amen to that.
And this is Matt and Jake
Signing
signing
out.
off.